fake by R.J. Barrett. Picked up his dribble.
And lost it. Well, he reached out and grabbed O'Connell. They don't call it, and O'Connell will go in and slam it.
He just didn't call it.
It's now a career-high 18 for O'Connell, and now Duke's got numbers, and Barrett's got a slam.
Boy, what an answer by Duke.
Syracuse in desperate need of a bucket on.
Has the basketball. Naz, alley-oop, and thrown out. Allen, oh my! Grayson Allen, All-American slam dunk champion. A one-hander. Head in the clouds, and the throwdown.
483. What a pass! Oh, if you don't like that, you don't like Kings basketball. Oh, boy.
What's going on, Dukes and Dudettes? So, yeah, Duke has played about 3 games or so since we last spoke. They did go 2-1 in that stretch, I believe. Or, no. They went 1-2. Because I think when we last spoke, it was the North Carolina crap. And then they did get revenge on Syracuse, as you saw right there. And then they just laid an egg against Virginia Tech. They had a chance to win at the end, but just couldn't execute, which sucked. But then during that North Carolina game, of course, Zion Williamson did rip through his shoe, and then something obviously went wrong with his knee, which is always crazy how that ends up happening. But they say he was day-to-day, like the very next day after that, and he has missed since the Syracuse and Virginia Tech game. And there has been no talk of that he's gonna shut it down and only prepare for the NBA. He still wants to come back. He still wants to win a championship with Duke and everything like that. So as long as they take their time, he could come back. And maybe he should just come back when they play North Carolina in sometime in another week or so, and then get revenge on that game. And that'd be pretty cool. But just don't rush him. He doesn't need to be rushed. They're still gonna make the tournament no matter what. And yeah, we'll see how that goes. And the other day, USC did get a W against Oregon, which is good. Pretty nice, convincing win there. And the Lakers general manager was in attendance at that game, so hopefully probably going to look at a few of those older guys might be coming out, even Kevin Porter, big guy. If that freshman could fall that far, it'd be really cool for the Lakers, but we'll see how that goes. Then also 2 of the next incoming freshmen for USC made it to the Iverson Classic, I believe it is. So they weren't all Americans for the McDonald's Jordan game, whatever, but at least they made it to something else. So that'd be pretty cool to show off their talents. And then there's, I guess, LaMelo Ball, one of, I guess, the very youngest brother of Lonzo Ball, said that he's been recruited by USC and Kansas. And of course they did a jersey of USC on him. I think he is going to be a pretty good player. He just needs a lot more time and just to get away from that stooge family. But it is kind of funny that USC and Kansas are recruiting him when they're just going through right now some of their NCAA violations of trying to recruit players and giving them shoe stuff and money and all that crap. So if that is leading towards that again, I wouldn't want him on the team. But I mean, I don't know. If he isn't a bad kid, then I'm sure we'll take it.
Kuzma around hard for the stuff. Woo! Moments ago, talk with Luke Walton.
And I wouldn't be surprised though if Houston made one of the largest jumps in this stretch going down. You see the wild shot, the circus shot right there by Ingram. But that's why Coach D'Antoni feels so good. He has his starting unit back, and again, this is
James.
That's why Harden has to take those dribbles.
James, yes! That for sure is a three.
You wonder how it's going to affect the young Lakers, though, when they find out that 3 points is taken off, because you play on emotion, adrenaline, and part of that is looking up at the scoreboard saying, hey, we're only 1 down. We can get back in this with 1 shot.
When they take a look at that shot by LeBron, also his foot might have been on the line. There's a runner by Rivers. James with the lead. He's hot with the bucket. Timeout called by the Rockets. 5-point lead for Houston. James to the rim. And that was a Statue of Liberty step.
Yeah, somewhere James Worth.
Protect the rim. And that's well timed by Julian Okafor. He got there. Good block. Williams, one side. Okafor the other.
In previous games, you would have seen a shot go right up.
Yeah, their schedule's difficult. They're going to have to play great basketball to get in, and they're going to have to be consistent.
Great pass by James and the slam by Ingram. 3 assists already for Kuzma. James goes to the rim, uncontested with the slam. Antonio, but that could change tonight because they're getting beat right now. The Kuzma with an emphatic stuff out of the timeout following a 15-1 Pelicans run, and the NFL MVP likes it. When you guys were coaching against LeBron James, were you concerned more about his passing ability or him as a scorer?
We doubled him almost never. You know, we certainly wanted to help on drives, but we never wanted to double team him, and we tried very hard never to put 2 guys on the ball, trap a pick and roll or anything like that, you know. And he got 50 against us once, and I think in a playoff series averaged almost 37 against us, but you still thought you had a chance to win if everybody else wasn't getting involved.
Randall to Davis, missed it, batted out to Rondo.
A little bit of resistance there at the rim by the Lakers.
No resistance defensively for the Pelicans against that. LeBron scrapes the sky for the stop. Kuzma, again, hammer time.
What's the record for most consecutive dunks? Because their last
4. LeBron lost it, now regains, fires away, and drills it!
I've seen that a lot as an opposing coach, where you think you're playing great defense and he makes one of those shots. It's absolutely disheartening.
And did you see the look on Anthony Davis's face?
Yeah, he said, that's my boy. I'm going to be playing with him next year.
Look at this shot. I mean, you can't play the defense any better than that.
That was a great possession.
No, it's a great defensive possession, and it just breaks your heart on those, you know, and breaks your spirit.
And for Duke, I did forget to mention that Joey Baker, the other freshman that doesn't get really talked about and was actually sitting out for a red shirt, and this year wasn't gonna account for him, but because of the Williamson injury and just a lot of these guys, even the veterans on Duke, not really playing well, they had to use him in that Syracuse game, and he actually did some pretty good stuff. I wasn't able to get a highlight of one of his blocks that ended up being called a foul, which it was actually a clean block, but he has some talent there, and it just sucks that they had to waste it one of his years already just because he had to play. I think in the last 2 games he's only played like 6 minutes, so it's like, why even bother wasting it if you're gonna not even want to play him, Coach K. But get on to Laker news. So Lakers have basically gone 2-2, I believe, since the All-Star break. They came out and won against Houston. Yeah, supposedly a lot of controversial plays towards the end with the refs, but that's just because they have problems with that one ref, at least the Rockets do. But then they went on the road and lost to New Orleans, which sucked because they're a worse team and Anthony Davis did not play. Then they lost to Memphis, who just gave away Marc Gasol, and you know they weren't really playing that good as well, and they lost to them as well. But then they did win last night against New Orleans Pelicans. And what also helped them out too in the standings was that both the Clippers and Sacramento Kings lost, who were the 2 spots ahead of them, so they kind of gained at least 1 game on them because of that. But they do face Milwaukee I think it's tomorrow, and that's going to be a tough game because obviously Milwaukee's #1 in the East right now, and they need any type of win they can get. They need to obviously average double more wins than losses just to even make the playoffs, and just seem grimmer and grimmer every single day that they end up losing, or as the standings continue to change. But as far as other Lakers news, LeBron has activated his playoff mode already, which I already think is bad because if he's going to do that and re-injure himself, then they should have just shut him down already, in my opinion, and then try to get a better draft pick so then you could send that crap away for someone like an Anthony Davis this summer and be more enticing with some of the players you have. But no, they want to go for the playoffs and be at the end of the lottery where there's not that many great players available. But like I said, that's my opinion. And of course, my favorite guy, Lonzo Ball. And once again, he's not projected to come back, even though he was supposed to come back right after the All-Star break. Now he's going to be out even longer, which sucks. But like I said, that's just how he goes. That's just how he's trying to stay with the Lakers as long as he can, just because he could buy some injury time. But it freaking sucks. And yes, a bit of Chargers news now that the Combine is coming up this weekend. So looks like they re-signed the wide receiver Artemis Scott to a one-year deal the other day. I guess I totally forgot that he had gotten injured, and I was wondering why he wasn't even playing, but it's the main reason why. So he was pretty much out for the whole entire year, kind of like that cornerback Jalen Watkins they signed last week as well. So they're just giving them another opportunity to see what they can do. One-year deal is not going to cost you much, and then we go from there, see what they can do, whether you re-sign them long-term the year after. And then also they're saying that Coach Anthony Lynn is the leader that the Chargers needed. And at the time, I never knew who he was or understood why they had hired him as their new head coach, because I had never really heard of him. And he's actually turned out to be really awesome for them. I mean, once he can get past this whole believing in Phillip Rivers 100% and not knowing how long Phillip Rivers is going to want to play because of how good he played last year, it's like, no, it's going to end soon. So hopefully they can, see what quarterbacks are available, whether it's in this draft and free agency or trades, but I'll get to that a little bit later. Then also they're saying their main focus, especially this weekend looking at guys, is defense, especially for that first round pick. So I'm pretty sure they're going to go after a linebacker or a defensive tackle mainly for that first round pick. And then if none of those top players are available that they want, then they'll just go with the best available player at that spot. I think they should go for offensive tackle in that spot, in my opinion, just because once you get past the main guys after the first round, they're not going to be as talented. And if there is one talented there, then I think you snap them right away, because this draft is really defensive heavy, so you can get a number of guys later in the draft. But yeah, looks like that's how it's going to be so far. And yes, as I mentioned, making a trade as far as replacing a quarterback, it does seem there's a lot of noise that Kyle Murray, the Oklahoma quarterback, can go number one to Arizona. And you're like, why? Because they just drafted Josh Rosen in the first round last year out of UCLA, quarterback. But he was a guy that was really high on the Chargers list last year, and they would have drafted him if he would have dropped to them. But if you can somehow work out a deal, obviously you don't have to give up a first round pick because they don't value him as much anymore. I think you could sort of sneak in and get a little bit more than, say, what a New England can offer Arizona. So be something to look forward to. Even though it's a UCLA quarterback, I'm going to be going with my Chargers. I still think he's pretty talented anyways. As far as USC news, it's somewhat not 100% great, but there are some little spots, like the number one quarterback as of right now, according to like all these things added up. Bryce Young, he did commit to USC last year, and he looks to still be committed. So now he's like ranked in the top 25 of all the players coming out next year. to college, so that's pretty good. That's a good spot, a good sign right there. Then also the offensive coordinator, Graham Harrell, finally talked to the media saying, of course, being this at USC was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. That's why he couldn't pass it up, and definitely believes that this air raid offense, as they call it, which is used more in the Big 12 conference, but he actually believes it could work even better because USC does get better players, higher rated players, and then them in this type of offense could be something special. So that's something to look forward to. Just hope that the defense comes along as well, or might have to start looking for a defensive coordinator, a new one, next year. Then they also did add they said a former Michigan linebacker to the coaching staff, but they didn't really specify what his role was going to be, so that's kind of interesting. But they did recently lose their, to get to that first, but then they did hire a new on-campus recruiting director. So I guess when these kids come for their official visits on campus, then there's like a new person that helps them out. So they did that, and then they did the bigger news that their strength and conditioning coach, they still haven't filled out that spot, but even now their assistant guy, Keith Belton, I believe his name was, now he's left to go join Kansas as their coach. So now they have nobody, but as you can see from that picture, you see that it said that the strength and conditioning coach for USC, there's no problem. And then there's that next pic of the two guys flexing, obviously, but those are guys that are just in their second year, so they're sophomores. And you can just tell even from that picture to the guy on the right how much his body has changed already. So that's really cool that, I mean, even without a main coach there for their strength and conditioning, they're still performing and getting to a better way of showing their athleticism, and hopefully that can help them on the field next year. So at least that's another positive that we could look at, but hopefully they can go, you know what I mean, as far as finding a replacement for that coach, I mean, you got to look at maybe even former players now, because I know an ex-former player is an assistant in the NFL, but why would he come back to USC? But I kind of wouldn't want him just because he was kind of kicked out of the NFL a few times because he used performance-enhancing drugs, so I wouldn't want the whole USC team to be kicked out. And there's a few guys you could go after that are ex-USC players, but like I always say, we'll see. So quite a bit of Anaheim Ducks news, because they did get that win against Minnesota, and they were winning before that, so you kind of thought they might get a little thing going and maybe push for a late playoff thing, but then they just made a bunch of trades to get rid of a bunch of their good contributing guys to get some stuff back, even a first-round pick, but I'll get into that after this. So they did win that game, and then they did re-sign one of their players, Jakob Silverberg, to a 5-year deal. Kind of thought, why would he kind of do it if they've been struggling? But obviously he believes in them and got to get that money. So good, at least they're able to keep two of their younger players at this moment, because they did re-sign the other guy the other time I talked to you people. And then also they did put Patrick Eves on. They just either let him go or put him on a waiver wire to see what could happen, because if nobody picked him up, then I think they were just gonna release him anyways, because he hasn't been able to contribute and he's never really healthy 100%, and then this way he can go off and do his own thing. So yeah, no news on him yet, but I'm pretty sure he's not gonna be back with the team, because they definitely seem like they're in tanking mode. Yes, they did trade Gibbons, Montour, and Michael Del Zotto all the way to different teams. I think there was a conditional first-round pick in there, maybe another 6th-round pick, I think, and then I think they got back 2 players. Don't know if they're gonna still keep them or not, just because you're getting rid of a couple of your guys that have been doing pretty good. They just made some late trade deadline deals, so it's obvious that they're gonna try to get as high of a pick in the NHL draft as they can. But that's the good thing with hockey. Sometimes you just need 1 or 2 good players, and then all of a sudden you could change your fortunes pretty quickly, kind of like how they did with Ryan Getzlaf and Corey Perry before. But now that those guys are old and hardly playing, you know, it's Their window's gone. They should have got rid of them a bit ago. But thanks for watching, people. Like and subscribe. Comment down below. Let me know what y'all think. And have a great rest of your day. Woo! And I forgot to say, I don't know why I guess I do look like that color because of the light, but somewhat normal. White version, pale version of me. But I did forget to say that, yes, if you are somewhat religious, it was Ash Wednesday yesterday. I did only have a bean and cheese burrito, so no meat. And I think it's starting now the Fridays up until Easter, there's no meat. So yeah, remember, don't eat meat, feed people, all right? And then yeah, I did finally finish Creed 2. Took me a bit, but goodness, I mean, that last like 30-35 minutes of that movie is just well worth it, and definitely worth watching, especially if you're a big time Rocky fan, not only of the old movies but Creed as well. And I don't know if I should say this, but it definitely seems like I don't think they need to do any more, in my opinion. But if they did do more Creed movies, I wouldn't mind either. Kind of like how they probably should have stopped at a certain point of Rocky movies, but I'm kind of glad they continued as well. But like I said before, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, comment down below, let me know what y'all think, and have a great rest of your day.